How did one cruel comment about cheap jewelry turn into a divorce packet being handed to me in a public lobby? Why did he stay calm, collect proof, and let the legal results speak for him, while I kept telling everyone he was the problem? My name is Magdalen Quine. I was 34, and I knew how to make a room look at me. I worked in HR at a logistics company, so I understood people. I understood what they wanted to hear. I also understood how to say things in a way that sounded fair, even when it was not fair at all. Ethan, my husband, did not play that game. He was quiet and careful. He thought love was simple. I thought love was proof. Our anniversary was coming, and I already felt irritated before the day arrived. I told myself it was because Ethan had been distant. I told myself he did not see me. The truth was that I wanted a moment I could show. I wanted a story that would make my friends nod. I wanted a gift that would look expensive in a photo. I said it was about romance, but it was about status. Ethan drove us to the mall after work. The parking lot was full, and we walked past bright windows and perfume smells. He held my hand like it was normal. I watched other couples and judged them in my head. In my mind, I counted who had better shoes, better bags, better smiles. I acted calm, like I was above it. I told myself I deserved more because I worked hard, because I carried the mental load, because I kept the house running. I said respect follows results, and I had results. We entered a jewelry store with white lights and glass cases. The clerk greeted us with a practiced smile. Ethan looked uncomfortable, like he did not want anyone watching him. I noticed that, and I decided it meant he was cheap. I decided it meant he was ashamed. He asked what I liked. I said I liked simple things, but I also said I wanted something that felt special. He nodded like he was listening, and I waited for him to pick the biggest option. He did not. He chose a delicate necklace with a small stone. It was pretty. It was tasteful. It was the kind of thing he thought matched my everyday life. The clerk said it was classic. Ethan asked about the warranty and the return policy. I heard him ask that, and I felt offended, like he was preparing to fail. I told myself a real man would not ask those questions. Ethan handed me the small box. He looked hopeful, which annoyed me even more. He asked if I liked it. I said it was fine. I watched his face change, and I told myself he was being dramatic. The clerk asked if we wanted a photo. I said yes, because I always said yes to photos. I held the box in a way that showed my nails and my ring. I smiled for the camera, but the smile did not reach my eyes. On the walk out, Ethan asked what was wrong. I said nothing was wrong, and I said he was making it weird. He asked again, and I told him he always did this, always turning a good day into stress. That was not true. I was the one turning it. I liked the feeling of control that came when someone tried to please me and could not. In the car, I let the silence grow. Ethan asked if the necklace reminded me of something bad. I knew he meant well, which made me angrier. I told him it reminded me of how little he understood me. He asked what that meant. I said I wanted effort, not excuses. He said he saved for it and planned it. I said planning was not love. I said my ex used to surprise me. I said my ex never made me feel like I had to beg for basics. Ethan gripped the steering wheel and kept his eyes on the road. He asked why I always brought up my ex when we argued. I said I was not bringing him up, and I said Ethan was the one obsessed. He asked if I wanted him to return the gift. I said he could do whatever he wanted, because I refused to be the bad guy. I watched him swallow his feelings, like a person swallowing a bitter pill. At home, the kitchen lights felt harsh. I placed the necklace box on the counter, like it was not important. Ethan asked if I would at least try it on. I said I did not want to perform gratitude. He asked if I understood how rude that sounded. I said he was guilt-tripping me. I said he used gifts to control my reaction. That made no sense, but I liked how it sounded. When I spoke like that, I felt smart. My phone buzzed while Ethan washed his hands. It was Cassidy, my best friend. She asked how anniversary night was going. I sent her a photo of the necklace box on the counter. I added a short message that implied it was small. Cassidy replied fast. She said it looked like something from a clearance shelf. She said my ex would never. She said I should teach Ethan what my standards were. Reading that made me feel warm, like I had backup. Ethan returned to the kitchen and asked who I was texting. I said it was work. He asked why I was texting about work at night. I said HR never stopped. He nodded, but I saw the doubt. I wanted that doubt. It helped me feel powerful. It also helped me justify what I had already started doing, even though I did not say it out loud. I'd been talking to Tyler for weeks. It started as harmless messages after a vendor event. He had complimented my dress in a way that felt easy. He had asked how I managed work and family. He had listened to my complaints like they were poetry. He did not say anything dirty. He did not have to. He made me feel chosen. I told myself it was not cheating because it was just attention. I told myself Ethan forced me into it by being boring. Ethan dried his hands and glanced at the counter. He picked up the little receipt bag from the jewelry store. He did not say anything. He just opened it, removed the receipt, and smoothed it flat like he was saving it for a file. I watched him fold it neatly and slide it into his wallet. He looked calm, but it was a different kind of calm. He asked if I wanted to talk tomorrow when we were both less tired. I said he could talk if he wanted, but I was done explaining myself. He went upstairs without slamming doors, without threats, without drama. That annoyed me too. I wanted him to fight so I could call him unstable. Instead, he acted like a person who was thinking. I stood in the kitchen and stared at the necklace box like it had insulted me. My phone buzzed again, and Cassidy asked if she could post a joke about cheap gifts. I stared at Ethan's empty spot by the sink and typed that she should wait, but I did not mean it. I knew I would let her do it. I knew I wanted the laugh. The next morning, I woke up with that tight feeling in my chest, like I had a problem to solve. Ethan was already up. I heard the coffee machine and I smelled toast. He acted normal, which made me feel like I was losing. I wanted him to admit he failed. I wanted him to chase me and ask how to fix it. He asked if I slept okay. I said I was fine. He asked if I wanted to talk about last night. I said there was nothing to talk about. He nodded and looked at his phone, like he was giving me space. I told myself he was ignoring me on purpose. I told myself he was punishing me. That story helped me stay angry. At work, I showed Cassidy the necklace photo again. She sat across from me in the break area, stirring her iced coffee. She asked if Ethan really bought that. I said yes, and I said it felt like he did not know me at all. Cassidy said I should let people see the truth. She said men only change when they feel embarrassed. I knew she was wrong, but I liked it. Public pressure always felt like power to me. It made me feel protected. If a crowd laughed with me, then I could not be the cruel one. That was my logic. Cassidy posted a story later that day. She did not name Ethan, but she did not have to. She wrote a short caption about tiny gifts and tiny effort. She tagged me with a heart emoji. People replied fast. Some of them laughed. Some of them sent the crying, laughing face. A few asked if I was okay. I replied that I was fine, and that I was just learning my worth. Jenna from work saw it. She asked if everything was okay at home. I smiled and said it was just a joke. I said Ethan was sensitive and did not understand humor. Jenna looked unsure, but she did not argue. I liked that. I liked how easy it was to plant a picture of him in someone's head. That afternoon, Ethan texted me and asked what time we were going to dinner. We had planned an anniversary dinner at a nice steakhouse. It was supposed to be our night. I decided it would be my stage instead. I told him we should invite friends because I wanted it fun. He asked why we needed a crowd. I said it was better than sitting at home with awkward silence. He agreed, but his message was short. On the way home, I called my sister Cara. I told her we were doing a group dinner. Cara asked if I was doing it to embarrass Ethan. I said no, and I said she always assumed the worst about me. She sighed and said she just wanted me to be careful. I told her I was careful. I always said that, even when I was not. At home, Ethan cooked pasta for Lila, and I watched him move around the kitchen. He looked tired. He asked if I wanted to help. I said I had emails. I sat at the counter and scrolled my phone. Tyler had messaged me again. He asked how my day was. He said he hoped I got treated right on my anniversary. I told him it was complicated. He replied that it should not be complicated for a woman like me. I did not correct him. I let the flattery sink in. I told myself I needed that because Ethan did not see me. I ignored the fact that Ethan was right there, feeding our daughter and asking her about school. Ethan asked if I wanted the necklace for dinner. I said I was not sure. He asked why. I said it felt like a reminder of disappointment. He stared at me for a second, like he was trying to understand what world I lived in. Then he said we should just focus on a peaceful night. I heard the word peaceful and I felt insulted. Peaceful sounded like surrender. At the restaurant, the lights were warm and the tables were close together. The place was loud, full of glasses clinking and people leaning in to talk. Cassidy arrived first and hugged me tightly. She looked at Ethan and gave him a quick smile, the kind that said she was judging him. 2 other friends came soon after. Jenna was there too, because Cassidy had invited her. Ethan's face changed when he saw Jenna, like he realized this would travel back to work. Ethan asked if this was going to be a big group. I said it was just friends. He asked why he did not know. I said he never cared about plans anyway. That was not true, but it sounded good in public. When the waiter came, Ethan asked what I wanted. I said I did not care. He suggested a dish he thought I liked. I smiled at Cassidy and said he always did that, acting like he knew me. Cassidy laughed a little too loud. Ethan asked what was funny. I said nothing, and I said he was being tense. The conversation turned to gifts. One friend mentioned a bracelet her boyfriend bought. Cassidy looked at me and lifted her eyebrows like it was my cue. I could have stayed quiet. I could have protected Ethan. Instead, I leaned forward and made it a story. I said Ethan got me something cute from the mall. I said it was sweet but small. I said my ex used to do bigger surprises. I said I did not need luxury, but I needed effort. I watched Ethan's jaw tighten. He asked why I was talking about my ex at our anniversary dinner. I shrugged and said we were just chatting. I said he was overreacting. Ethan asked if we could talk about it privately later. I said if he wanted privacy, he should not disappoint me in public. Cassidy nodded like I made a strong point. The table laughed, not hard, but enough. I felt that familiar rush. It was ugly, but it was real. I felt like I was winning. Ethan did not raise his voice. He did not slam the table. He just became quiet. He asked me, calmly, if I even liked the gift. I said I liked the idea of it, but not the result. I said my standards were not a crime. I saw Jenna's eyes move between us. She looked uncomfortable. I decided she was uptight. I decided that if she judged me, it was because she envied me. When dessert came, Ethan barely touched it. He asked if we could go home early. I said he could go if he wanted, but I was staying with friends. He paid the bill anyway. He stood up and he said goodnight to everyone, polite like he was at a work event. Then he left. Cassidy whispered that he was doing it for attention. I said he always did that, acting hurt to make me feel guilty. I said I refused to be manipulated. The words tasted powerful in my mouth. They also kept me from noticing the truth. He had stopped trying to convince me. Later that night, I came home and found the kitchen clean. Lila was asleep upstairs. Ethan was not in our bed. The guest room door was closed. I stood in the hallway and listened. The house felt too quiet. In the morning, I woke up and saw Ethan's side of the closet looking emptier, not empty, but organized in a different way. He made coffee and did not offer me any. He asked what time my first meeting was. I told him. He nodded and wrote something on a small notepad. He did not explain it. Before he left for work, he asked me one last time if I wanted the necklace. I said I did not want cheap reminders. His face went still. He said okay, very calmly. Then he picked up his keys and he left. A few hours later, I checked our shared location out of habit. His dot was at the mall. It stayed there longer than usual. I told myself he was being petty. I told myself he was going to beg for forgiveness with a better gift. But deep down, I felt a colder thought move in. He was not chasing me. He was correcting something. The week after the dinner felt like a strange contest. Ethan did not shout. He did not punish me in any loud way. He just changed small things, like he was moving furniture inside his mind. He stopped asking how my day was. He still spoke to Lila with the same calm voice. He still packed her lunch and checked her backpack. But with me, he switched to short sentences. If I asked where he was going, he said he had errands. If I asked what kind, he said it was personal. That word bothered me more than any insult. I told Cassidy that Ethan was giving me the silent treatment. Cassidy said he was trying to control me. She said I should take my power back. I liked that phrase. It sounded like a motivational quote. It also gave me an excuse to do whatever I wanted next. At work, I acted like everything was normal. I smiled in meetings. I corrected people's forms. I sent reminders about policy and deadlines. But my phone kept lighting up under the desk. Tyler was consistent. He did not miss a day. He asked how I felt after the anniversary. I said I felt disappointed. He said disappointment was a sign I knew my worth. He said a woman like me should not beg for basic effort. I told him Ethan was a good man, just not thoughtful. Tyler replied that good was not the same as right for you. I stared at that message longer than I should have. Jenna walked by my desk and asked if I could approve a schedule change for her team. I said yes, and I said I was busy, but I would handle it. She glanced at my phone screen and looked away fast. I told myself she was nosy. I told myself it was unfair that people watched me, but I also knew I created that attention. That evening, Cassidy invited me to a rooftop bar for a reset. She said I deserved to feel wanted. She said it would be harmless. I told her I could not, because I had Lila. Cassidy said I should not act like a prisoner. She said Ethan could parent his own child. I liked how she said own child, like Ethan was a roommate who owed me. When I got home, Ethan was in the kitchen. Lila was doing homework at the table. Ethan asked if I had plans. I said I might go out with friends for one drink. He asked who. I said Cassidy and some co-workers. He asked what time I would be back. I said he was not my boss. He went quiet for a second, and then asked if I could at least send a text when I was on my way. I said yes, but I said it like he was unreasonable. I left with my hair still damp and my lipstick fresh. I told myself I was doing it for my confidence. I told myself Ethan's distance forced me to rebuild myself. I did not say Tyler out loud, even in my head, but he was there like a bright sign. At the rooftop bar, the air was cold, and the city lights looked clean from above. The music was loud, and people laughed like they had no consequences. Cassidy ordered drinks and took photos right away. She told me to tilt my chin up. She said I looked like I was finally waking up. I smiled, because that was the role I knew. Tyler arrived later than the others. He acted like it was casual. He greeted Cassidy like they were already friends, which irritated me. He sat close, not touching, but near enough that I felt watched. He asked how my husband was doing. I said Ethan was being distant and petty. Tyler asked what petty meant. I said he returned my anniversary necklace because I did not like it. Tyler raised his eyebrows and said Ethan sounded fragile. I laughed, even though the laugh felt forced. Tyler asked what I wanted in a marriage. I said I wanted passion and effort. I said I wanted a man who did not make me feel guilty for wanting more. Tyler said Ethan used guilt because he had nothing else. He said he could tell I carried the whole relationship. I liked hearing that. It let me stay the hero of my own story. My phone buzzed. It was Ethan asking if Lila was asleep yet. I stared at the text and felt annoyed. I told myself he was trying to pull me back into the house with responsibilities. I replied that I would be home soon. That was not true. Around midnight, Cassidy wanted another photo. She lifted her glass and asked me to smile bigger. Someone behind us shouted a toast. I leaned in so the camera would catch the skyline. Tyler stood at my side, close enough that people could assume things. He asked if Ethan ever made me feel special. I said Ethan tried, but it was never enough. Tyler said it was not my fault. He said men like Ethan trained women to accept scraps. My chest warmed when he said my name, like he owned it. When I finally drove home, I did not text Ethan that I was on my way. I told myself it was because I was tired. I told myself it was because he did not deserve updates. I walked in quietly, expecting anger. I almost wanted anger. Anger would mean he still cared. But Ethan was not angry. He was awake in the living room with a laptop open. He looked up and asked what time it was. I said it was not that late. He said it was after 1. I rolled my eyes and said I lost track of time. He asked if I had been drinking. I said I had 1 drink, and I asked why he was interrogating me. He looked at his screen and then at me again. He asked where I went. I said a bar near downtown. He asked if Tyler was there. My stomach tightened for 1 second. I recovered fast. I asked why he even knew Tyler's name. He said Tyler had messaged me during dinner once, and a notification popped up. He said he did not read it then, but he noticed the name. I said he was snooping. He said he was not snooping. He said notifications were visible. His tone was calm. That calm made me feel guilty, so I turned it into anger. I told him he was paranoid. I said he wanted a reason to blame me for his own failure. He asked if I was seeing Tyler. I laughed and said he was embarrassing himself. I said Tyler was just a work contact. Ethan nodded slowly, like he was taking notes without a pen. I noticed a spreadsheet open on his laptop. I could not see the titles, but I saw rows and columns, like a list. Next to the laptop was a folder with a simple label, Utilities. Under it was another folder that said Bank. Ethan closed the laptop without rushing. He asked if I could keep my voice down because Lila was sleeping. I said he cared more about quiet than about me. I went to the kitchen for water. The counter looked different. There were 2 mugs on opposite sides, like they belonged to 2 separate lives. I heard a soft click from the hallway closet, like a drawer locking. Ethan walked past me and headed upstairs. His keyring jingled and I noticed a new key on it. I asked what that was for. He said it was for storage. I asked what storage. He said he would handle it. In bed, I stared at the ceiling and tried to feel victorious. I told myself Ethan was acting cold to scare me. I told myself he would come back when he realized he could not live without me. That belief kept me steady for a moment. Then, I remembered the way he said Tyler's name without emotion. I remembered the spreadsheet. I remembered the folders. I remembered how he did not beg me to stay home. The next day, I woke up early and went downstairs, hoping to catch him off guard. He was at the counter, and his phone made a soft beep. I saw a quick message flash on the screen. File uploaded successfully. He turned the phone face down like it was nothing. I asked what he was doing. He looked at me and said he was organizing things. I asked what things. He said household things. I told him he was being secretive. He said he was being responsible. I hated that word, responsible. It sounded like the opposite of me, and for the first time, I worried the story I was telling, everyone might not be the story that would win. The family dinner was supposed to be a reset. That was the word my mother used when she invited us to the restaurant. She said it would help everyone calm down. I agreed because I wanted a stage. I wanted witnesses. I wanted the story to belong to me before Ethan could shape it. We went to a family restaurant with a long table in the back, the kind with warm lights and framed photos on the walls. My mother, Dawn, was already there. My father Gordon sat beside her and looked at his phone like he wanted to disappear. My sister Cara came a few minutes later, holding her purse tight like it was armor. Ethan arrived with Lila. He held her hand, and she swung their arms gently, like she was trying to make the air lighter. Ethan greeted everyone politely. He asked how they were doing. He even asked the server for an extra napkin for Lila without making a scene. It almost made me angry, because it made him look good. Ruth and Noah, Ethan's parents, sat on the other side of the table. Ruth's eyes went to me and then away, like she did not want to pretend anymore. Noah gave Ethan a small nod that looked like support. I told myself Ethan had turned his parents against me. That was easier than admitting I did it with my own behavior. The food order started normal. People talked about work and weather and school. I watched Ethan stay calm. I watched him smile at Lila when she talked about a class project. I watched him not touch my hand. His distance felt like an insult, but he was doing it so cleanly that I could not complain without sounding needy. So I created a reason. My mother asked if our anniversary was nice. I waited, like I was letting Ethan answer first. He looked at me and asked if I wanted to answer. I said yes, and I turned it into a performance. I said the dinner was fine, but I said the gift part was awkward. I said Ethan bought me a necklace that felt like an afterthought. I said I appreciated the idea, but I said it was not thoughtful. Ethan asked what I meant by afterthought. I said he always chose safe things. I said safe things were the same as not trying. Ruth's mouth tightened. She asked what kind of necklace it was. I said it was a small one from the mall. I said it was cute. And I said that word the way people used it for children, not adults. My mother laughed and said, at least Ethan tried. I said trying was not enough if it did not match effort. Ethan asked me to stop quietly, and he said we could talk later. I said he was trying to silence me. I said I had a right to share my feelings. That was my favorite trick. If I called it feelings, it sounded holy. Cara looked at me and shook her head slightly. She asked if I could not do this here. I said I was not doing anything. I said everyone always acted like Ethan was fragile and needed protection. Ethan asked Cara not to get involved. His voice stayed steady, like he was protecting her from the mess too. My mother leaned forward and asked Ethan if money was tight. Ethan said money was fine. My mother asked why the gift was so small then. Ethan said he chose something he thought I would like. I cut in and said my ex used to choose better things. The table went still for a second. Even my father looked up. Ruth's face showed shock and then anger. Noah exhaled slowly through his nose. Ethan did not shout. He did not stand up and storm out. He just stared at his plate for a moment, like he was making a decision about what kind of person he wanted to be in that room. He asked me why I kept bringing up my ex. I said because it was relevant. I said it showed a pattern. I said I was tired of pretending I was happy with crumbs. Ethan asked if I heard myself. I said yes, and I said I was being honest. Ruth asked me if I understood how disrespectful that was. I said respect was earned. I said love should feel like winning, not like settling. I watched Ethan's jaw tighten again, and I felt satisfied. I wanted him to break. I wanted him to raise his voice so I could point and say, see, this is who he is. But he did not. He looked at Ruth and Noah and then at my parents. He said he did not want to argue in front of Lila. He asked if we could focus on dinner and keep adult issues private. My mother scoffed and said I had a right to speak. Ethan nodded and said I did, but he said there was a time and place. I rolled my eyes and said he was always controlling. I said he controlled with calm. I said he used politeness like a weapon. Even as I said it, I knew it sounded strange, but I also knew my mother would support me. And she did. Dawn said Ethan needed to accept feedback. She said a woman should not have to lower her standards. Gordon tried to laugh, like it was all a joke. He told everyone to eat. Cara looked like she wanted to sink under the table. Lila was quiet. She picked at her food and looked at Ethan more than she looked at me. That irritated me. I told myself Ethan was turning her against me. I told myself he was using the child to play victim. It was a cruel thought, but it made me feel safer. Halfway through the meal, my mother asked if Ethan had returned the necklace. She said she heard something about it. I glanced at Cassidy's story in my mind, and I realized news moved faster than I planned. Ethan said yes, he returned it. He said he did not want to keep something that caused arguments. He said he thought it would be better to remove the issue. My mother said that was petty. I said it was punishment. I said he wanted to make me look ungrateful. Ethan asked how returning it made me look ungrateful if I told everyone I did not want it. I opened my mouth and then closed it. I hated that he was logical. Logic made my feelings look messy. Ruth said quietly that Ethan had tried. She said he did not deserve to be mocked. My mother said Ethan needed to grow up. Ruth said I needed to grow up. The words landed sharp, and my heart beat faster. Ethan stayed calm. He took a sip of water. He asked Lila if she wanted to go wash her hands. Lila nodded fast, like she wanted an escape. Ethan took her to the restroom area and waited outside while she went in. That small act of care made him look steady in front of everyone. When he came back, he sat down and spoke in a different way. Not louder, just firmer. He said he wanted the next weeks to be peaceful for Lila. He said he would only talk with me about parenting and bills for now. He said he would not do public arguments anymore. My mother asked if that was a threat. Ethan said no, it was a boundary. I laughed and said he loved boundaries now. I said he learned a new word and wanted to use it. Ethan looked at me and said he had been trying to talk for months, and he said it never worked. He said he would stop trying to convince me. Then he turned to the table and said goodnight. He stood up, helped Lila into her coat, and thanked my parents for dinner. He thanked Ruth and Noah for coming. He did not rush. He did not glare. He simply left. As he walked away, I felt the room shift. My mother looked angry, but Cara looked scared. Ruth looked relieved, like she had been waiting for Ethan to stop bleeding in public. Noah's eyes followed Ethan with a quiet respect. I told myself Ethan was performing. I told myself he was trying to make me look bad. I told myself I had to keep control. But when I checked my phone under the table, I saw Ethan's shared calendar notification still synced on the family tablet at home. I had seen it earlier too, and now it flashed again in my mind like a warning. Downtown 10:40 a.m., meeting, personal. For the first time, I wondered if Ethan was not just setting boundaries. I wondered if he was building something I could not talk my way out of. The days after the family dinner felt like a slow leak. Nothing exploded, but everything lost pressure. Ethan still woke up early, still made Lila's lunch, still drove her to school when it was his turn. But he did not try to fix my mood anymore. He did not chase me with questions. He did not ask for a clean slate. That scared me more than anger. I told myself he was trying to punish me. I told myself he was acting cold to make me beg. I said to Cassidy that he was playing mind games. Cassidy said he was weak and petty. She said I should not let him win. The word win stayed in my head like a dare. I started watching him, like I could catch him doing something wrong. I listened for phone calls. I looked for receipts. I checked the trash. I hated myself for doing it, so I turned it into a joke in my mind. I told myself it was normal. I told myself I was protecting our family. On Tuesday, I got to the school pickup line 10 minutes early. I liked being early because it made me feel like a good mother. I saw Ethan's car ahead of me, parked farther down than usual, pointed toward the street, like he was ready to leave fast. When Lila came out, she ran to him first, not to me. Ethan helped her into the back seat and buckled her in. He looked over and gave me a polite nod, like I was a neighbor. I pulled up beside him. I asked if he could talk for a minute. He asked if it was about Lila's schedule. I said it was about us. He said he did not want to do us in the pickup line. I said he was always avoiding real conversation. He said he was avoiding public scenes. That made me feel exposed, so I attacked. I said he made me look bad by returning the necklace. He asked why I cared if I told everyone it was cheap. I said I never called it cheap. He looked at me and said he heard me, and he said other people heard me too. I said he was twisting my words. He said he was done debating memories. A car behind us honked. Lila looked between us with wide eyes. Ethan asked if we could keep it calm for her. I said he always used Lila as a shield. He said Lila was not a shield, and he said she was our responsibility. His voice stayed even. That calm made me feel like the unstable one, and I hated that feeling. At home, I tried a new approach. I acted sweet. I made dinner. I asked Ethan about his project at work. He answered with short details, and then asked about Lila's homework. I touched his arm once. He moved slightly, not dramatic, just enough to break contact. I felt rejected and tried to turn it into outrage. I asked if he was punishing me by acting like I disgusted him. He said he was not punishing me, and he said he was choosing distance. I asked why. He said because closeness did not feel safe right now. I laughed and asked what safe even meant. He said emotional safety. He said respect. He said honesty. I rolled my eyes and said he was copying therapy words. He asked if I wanted to deny that I lied. I said I never lied, and I said he invented stories because he was insecure. He asked if Tyler was still messaging me. I said Tyler was a coworker contact. Ethan said Tyler was not my coworker. He said Tyler was a man I hid. I told him he sounded paranoid again. Ethan took his plate to the sink and rinsed it slowly, like he had all the time in the world. I watched him open a drawer and take out a small stack of papers. I could not see them clearly. He did not show them to me. He just looked at them for a second and put them back. Then I heard a lock click. It was a small sound, but it felt loud in my chest. I went upstairs and checked our joint account on my phone. I always checked it, but now I checked it like a test. I saw a new alert, a transfer to a savings account I did not recognize. It was not huge, but it was enough to make me angry. I stormed downstairs and asked what it was. Ethan asked me to lower my voice. He said Lila was in the living room. I said I did not care. I said he was stealing money. He said he was not stealing. He said it was still family money, and he said it was being organized. I said organized meant hidden. He said organized meant protected. I told him he was acting like I was dangerous. He said he was acting like our situation was serious. I asked if he was threatening me with something. He said he was not threatening me, and he said he was preparing. That word hit me hard. I tried to flip it. I said if he prepared, then I could prepare too. I said I could tell people he was financially controlling. Ethan nodded and said I could say anything I wanted, but he said he would not argue in circles anymore. I said I could take Lila to my mother's. He said I could visit, but he said we needed a plan that kept Lila stable. He said sudden moves were not good for her. I texted my mother and told her Ethan was acting cold and controlling. She replied fast and said he was showing his true colors. She said I should not let him cut me off. She said I should come stay with her if needed. Reading her message gave me courage. It also made me reckless. That night I called Kara and told her Ethan was hiding money. Kara asked if I was sure. I said yes. Kara asked if I had done something that made him afraid. I said no, and I said Kara was taking his side now. Kara said she was not taking sides, and she said I needed to stop turning every question into betrayal. I ended the call early and told myself she was jealous of me. The next day at work, I complained louder than usual. I told Cassidy in the break room that Ethan was trying to control the narrative. Cassidy said I should post something about financial abuse. I said I did not want to go that far, but I also did not say no. I liked the idea of getting ahead of him. I liked the idea of making him the villain first. In the afternoon, Jenna asked to speak with me about a schedule issue. We sat in the small HR room with the frosted glass. She asked if everything was okay at home. I smiled and said yes. Jenna said she only asked because she saw some posts and heard some talk. I told her people were dramatic. I told her Ethan was sensitive. Jenna looked at me for a long second and said she hoped it stayed professional. On the way home, I saw Ethan's car in the driveway, and the garage door was half open. The guest bed had a blanket folded neatly at the foot, like someone planned to sleep there again. On the kitchen counter, there were 2 mugs on opposite sides, like a line drawn down the middle. Next to the fridge, a sticky note sat under a magnet. It said, "Bring forms." There was no name on it. I asked Ethan what forms those were. He looked at the note and then at me. He said they were personal. I asked if he was meeting a lawyer. He did not answer my question. He asked if Lila ate a snack at school. I said yes, and I demanded an answer. Ethan took a slow breath. He asked me to stop guessing and stop accusing. He said he would not fight in front of Lila. And he said he would not fight in private either, because it only fed the same cycle. I said he was the cycle. I said he made me feel lonely. I said he drove me to seek attention elsewhere. Ethan asked if I heard what I just admitted. I said I admitted nothing. I said he was twisting my feelings again. He looked tired, but he did not look lost. He looked like someone who had chosen a path. He said he would keep things calm for Lila. He said he would keep paying bills and handling pickups. He said if I wanted to communicate, it needed to be clear and respectful. I laughed and asked who made him the boss of respect. He said nobody made him the boss. And he said he was simply done accepting public humiliation and private excuses. I stepped closer and asked if he was leaving me. He looked at me and said he was not going to discuss endings in the kitchen. He said he would handle it properly. I went to work on Friday and acted like I was winning. I wore a bright blouse and a calm smile. I told myself Ethan would cool down. I told myself his properly line was just a threat to get my attention. Around late morning, my phone showed a reminder for a short meeting in the small HR room. I assumed it was about schedules. I walked through the office tower lobby with my badge in my hand. People moved around me with coffee cups and laptops. The lobby cameras blinked red lights above the doors. I saw Ethan near the seating area by the windows. He was not pacing. He was not angry. He sat straight with a folder on his lap, like he was waiting for a dentist appointment. Noah sat a few feet away, quiet, hands folded. Ruth stood near the wall, watching the elevator doors. Even my mother was there, looking tense, like she'd come to defend me. My stomach dropped. I asked Ethan what he was doing there. He said he was there for something important. I asked if he was stalking me at work. He said he was not stalking me, and he said this was a public place for a reason. A woman in a plain blazer walked toward me with a small envelope. She asked if I was Magdalen Quine. I said yes, and I asked who she was. She said she needed to confirm my identity. I told her this was harassment. She said she was just doing her job. She handed me the envelope. She said I had been served. I stared at the words like they were in a foreign language. I felt heat rise in my face, because people nearby slowed down and looked over. I heard the soft sound of someone's shoes stop behind me. I turned to Ethan and asked if he really did this in my lobby. He said he did not choose the lobby to shame me, and he said he chose it to keep it calm and legal. I said he wanted an audience. He said he wanted witnesses because he was done living inside rumors. My mother stepped forward and asked Ethan what he thought he was doing. Ethan said he was doing it properly. Ruth told my mother to stop blaming everyone else. Noah said nothing, but he stayed close to Ethan like a steady wall. I opened the envelope with shaking fingers. I saw the words petition and temporary orders. I saw a schedule for Lila that started immediately. It said where Lila would sleep on school nights. It said how pickups would work. It said neither parent could remove her from school or keep her from the other parent without written agreement. It also said communication had to be in writing and only about parenting and logistics. I flipped another page and saw limits on money. It said neither of us could drain accounts or make unusual spending. It said the house bills would be tracked. It said certain passwords and access were to be secured until a full hearing. I laughed once, sharp and ugly, because it felt unreal. I told Ethan he was being dramatic. Ethan said he was being careful. I told him he could not prove anything. He said he did not need loud proof, and he said he needed clear proof. He nodded toward the folder in his lap. He did not open it. He just said he had receipts for the jewelry return, screenshots of posts, and a timeline of my late nights. He said he also had messages that matched dates and places. I said those messages were out of context. He said dates did not have context, and he said they had facts. I tried to cry. I said he was breaking our family to hurt me. Ethan said he was protecting Lila from chaos. I looked around and realized how quiet he stayed. I realized nobody could call him unstable in this moment. I looked back down at the temporary orders, and my hand stopped shaking for 1 second. Then I saw the first pickup time printed in plain ink for the same day, and I understood the story had already moved without my permission.